Hey guys, Chef Jamal here. I am here to show you a fun, nutrient-dense weekday meal that you can make at home. It's gonna be Moroccan inspired and super tasty. Welcome to another edition of Cultured Cooking. My name is Chef Jamal. I am so excited to show you what we have cooking for you guys. It's gonna be some wonderful carrots with some Moroccan inspired spices, a little house-made pesto, and then some pan-fried salmon that has a little bit of cumin and a lot of love on there. The first thing that we're gonna do is start working on our carrots. So with that, we have a nice boiling water that is super salty, tastes like the sea, so it's gonna give us a lot of flavor in there, and it's also gonna brighten up our vegetables as we put it to the plate. So let's get started with that. So these are gonna be some beautiful organic carrots, and we're just gonna chop the tops off, make them a little bit smaller, and then put them into our water. So first things first, chop the tops off of these guys. Now you can save this for compost if you want, and that's exactly what we're gonna do, right? A little pile over there. And now you can do this one of two ways. You can cut this right down the middle, have that nice beautiful presentation, or you can do little oblong shapes. What we're gonna do is little oblong shapes so they cook just a little bit faster. Right? Beautiful. We'll put that to the side. Now I know you're saying blanching. Oh no, what is that? That seems super technical. It's not. It's just some boiled water, right? And then with that, we're gonna then put it into a cold water so we can shock it, stop it from cooking. So we're gonna par cook it in a sense. So some nice funky shapes, right? Cut this one a little bit more, great. So these are our veggies right here, our carrots. So now let me show you this really cool trick. So we have some water that's boiling here, right? And now I'm gonna put this in there so it's easy to take out our vegetables, and we only need to do this for about a minute or so, and you're gonna see the color kind of brighten up on these bad boys once we pull it out of here. So just a couple minutes with that. Now while that's working, I have some ice in a bowl and some nice cold water. Pour that in. So now we have our ice water, right, to stop the cooking process. A couple more minutes or seconds, a couple more seconds here. Now you're gonna notice I kept the skin on these, and you can take those off, but I like the added nutrients that comes with keeping the skin on. So we're gonna do that here today. Now you can see the color getting really bright. That's gonna be so beautiful on our plate. All right, so let's say this is done. All right, and I'm gonna put this right into the ice bath. Make sure everyone's getting the love. That's great. Turn off our stove here. And now, look at that. That's done. Okay, the next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna season our fish because it only takes about 15 minutes for all of that wonderful seasoning to penetrate inside. Unlike a piece of poultry or beef, that needs a little bit more time for the seasonings to penetrate into it. Seafood only needs a couple of minutes to really get that flavor inside. So we're gonna salt and pepper both sides. Nice and beautiful. A little salt, a little pepper, right? Great. And now we're gonna flip this so we can get both sides and get all of the sides as well. All right, look at that. And then a little salt. Awesome. Great. So that's our fish, and we're gonna let that hang out for a little bit while we work on our pesto. Okay, so our fish is seasoned, right? And we have our carrots in this ice bath. I'm gonna take this out, put it into another bowl, and that's it. You guys did it. We just blanched. We just blanched some vegetables, and that's really, really gonna help us with presentation, nutrients. So that's gonna be great. We're gonna set that aside. Next. So I have this beautiful mortar and pestle here, right? And with that, we are gonna make a little pesto. Okay, so for that, I have some nuts here. It's gonna be some sunflower. Now you can use walnuts, you can use pine nuts. I'm gonna use some of these because they're toasted and they have a little bit of salt on them, right? So it's gonna save us a step. And all you have to do is start grinding this up. And you can use different variations. You can use mint in here, you can use parsley, you can use cilantro, any combination, right? Get adventurous. For us, it's gonna be parsley, garlic, and then a little bit of acid with some rice wine vinegar. So we're gonna get this into a nice little paste. Check that out. Starting to break that down a little bit. So I think a mortar and pestle should be in every home. Everyone should have the ability to kind of grind some fresh spices or make a little paste or even make some salsa or guacamole in this beautiful, beautiful tool. So I'm gonna keep doing this, right? And then set that aside. We have our garlic here, which I'm gonna cut up so it makes it easier to break down. So you saw I did slices, right? And you can also do one of the smashes, right? Makes it easier. And then just go through. Nice little chop. Now we're gonna take all of this and give it a nice rough chop. And I like garlic, so I'm using about 3 cloves here because we want that real rich, pungent taste and aroma to come out of it when we're done. Look at that. So we're gonna take this and add that right to the nuts. All of that right in there. Look at that. Make sure we get all the little bits. Great. Now we're gonna keep working this. Now you see the nuts are really starting to break down into a paste, and so are the garlic pieces that we put in there. Just keep working it. This is a really nice way to get an arm workout too, so if you skipped the gym today, here's that workout. And then we're just gonna keep working this until we get a nice coarse paste. So we have our paste working in here, right? So now we need to add our fresh herbs. And for us, that's gonna be parsley today. So we are going to get a bunch of this beautiful parsley, right? And we don't need to cut it up. We just need to add it right in there because we wanna break all of that down inside of the mortar and pestle so we can get all of that flavor. So now this is gonna be about a cup, right? A wonderful cup. So if you wanted to add some more herbs, I would say keep with the cup and then take it from there. So maybe put a cup of mint, maybe put a cup of cilantro, but just know you might have to adjust as you go. And we're gonna taste it as we go too. Just get all this. All right, so let's start with that. Just gonna start breaking it down. And now since there's salt already in these nuts, we wanna be careful about adding more. So we're getting tons, so we're getting our nuts, we're getting some herbs right in here. We have our carrots for this dish. We're also gonna put some cumin as well. Now salmon is gonna be packed, I mean packed full of vitamins. It's great for potassium, has tons of B12. So it's gonna be a really, really nutrition dense dish. Now you guys can see I'm doing like a down and turning situation. I'm mashing everything, right? Making sure I get all the bits, getting the most out of every little piece. I'm scraping down the sides, right? Now's a good time to add in some wonderful oil, and we're gonna put a decent amount. Look at that. A nice big jug. So we're saying, and just keep working that. Oof. Oil's getting excited. Oh my goodness, this looks so good. Working this. As we added the oil, it gets a little bit easier, right? Now we're gonna add a little bit, just a splash of that rice wine vinegar. Because we can always add to, but we can't take out. So I'm gonna add a little bit more parsley. So I can just tell, I can just smell it. It smells really, really rich, but we want more of this beautiful, beautiful parsley in there. Great. Keep breaking this down. Now, this pesto recipe does not have any cheese, right? Because we're trying to make this dairy-free and accessible to everyone. But usually, really good Parmesan or Reggiano cheese would go into your pesto. And that's also going to give it really nice richness, right? And creaminess. But our version right here is going to do without. Now we're just breaking down those new leaves that we put in there. Oh, my arm's starting to get a little workout. I can feel it. Let's give it a nice little taste. It's nice and sharp from the parsley, rich from the oil, and that wonderful nuttiness from the sunflowers. That's great. So we need to just keep breaking this down. I'm gonna add a little bit more oil, and I'm gonna put a pinch of salt. That's why it's super important to taste as you go. Scraping down the sides, super important. We wanna get it all in there. Now, if you don't have one of these at home, right, you can just put this in a food processor and it'll come out just as fine. But I want to show you guys how to use this wonderful tool and why it's so important, right? Because you get a really fresh end product, and you get to have a little bit more control of how things are going. So I'm going to keep working this until I feel like everything is broken down enough. Make sure I get everything. Look at this. Look at that. Really rich, really creamy. But I'm gonna keep breaking down. I still see some really big chunks in there. Okay. So it's important not to get any of the stems in there, right? Because they're super fibrous and they're hard to break down. Save that for your stocks. Save that for your soups. Unless you want to be doing this for a while, I suggest you don't. Okay, I'm going to give this another taste. Let's see what we got. Nice, rich, a little salty, very aromatic. Okay. This, my friends, that's done. We are gonna start our salmon. So for this, really simple. We have a nice cold pan, and we have some cumin here, and we're just gonna put that in the pan. We're gonna toast that for a little bit. Show you guys this really cool trick. So So we're gonna put that on low. And we don't want this smoking. We just wanna, once we start smelling it, we know that it's toasted, right? And at that point, we're gonna add a little bit of oil. So now we have some oil that's gonna be infused with that cumin, and then we're gonna pan fry this wonderful, wonderful piece of salmon, and then finish our veggies off. It's gonna be great. So while we're waiting for that to heat up, we have our carrots here, right? Beautiful. We're gonna put a little bit of oil, a little bit of salt, and then the secret ingredient, guys, Ras al Hanout. So this is gonna be a Moroccan spice blend, right? So this, for Morocco, is a spice blend that they use for a lot of different things. We're gonna use it for our carrots. It's almost the equivalent of, you know, a curry in India. There's a lot of different variations that you can use in it. There's a lot of different spices you can put in there. This one is really, really simple, and I've used it before. It's super, super tasty. So we're gonna get our vegetables coated in that really nicely, because we're gonna really, really take this whole dish up to a different level. Get that all nice and coated. That's beautiful. All right, so now we're toasting these wonderful spices, right? The cumin. And I can start to smell it. And then we're gonna put a nice amount of oil in there and get that going. We're just gonna infuse that a little bit. So now, our salmon with the salt, right? We added all of that salt, and now we see moisture starting to come out. So that means the salt must be going in and liquid's coming out. That's great. That's a great sign that we've done some good things. I'm just gonna take off that liquid from the top, right? Because when we sear this in the pan, we want it to be nice and dry, so we can get a wonderful, beautiful, beautiful crust on the outside. Great. Okay. So now we see and smell everything that's happening in there. I think we are ready to put in our fish. And we're gonna put this down and away from us. Wonderful. And that's gonna take no time at all to cook, so we wanna keep a nice watchful eye on it. Okay. And then while that's working, to kick the whole thing up another notch, a little bit of butter in there. Really give us some real good richness. Now we can see the bottom's starting to turn white. We're gonna check the skin. Oh, look at that. That's nice. We're gonna give it a nice little flip. Let that cook for a little bit. And just a couple minutes on each side should do the trick. Let's get a nice little spoon. Start pouring that on top. No reason we can't bathe it in that wonderful fat to keep it nice and crispy. Look at the other side now. Oh yeah. That's beautiful. Okay. Next, we're gonna take this out. Once it's done, just needs a little bit more time because it's a pretty thick piece of cut. Now, as you can see, this whole meal, we're almost wrapped up, right? So it took about, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes or so to get this all done. This is a great weeknight meal, and there's so much nutrients here. We have our carrots, right? We have our salmon. This is all local and fresh and delicious, and it's so good for you. This pesto, oh my goodness. All the colors. When you're looking at a dish and you see an array of colors, that probably means that you're putting in all of the nutrients that you need. The more colorful, the better. All right, let's check our other side. Nice. And that's it. We don't want to go past that. Our nice piece of salmon. Okay. So now we're going to get a new pan. All right, so now we're getting our pan warmed up. A little bit of oil, nothing crazy. And we have our veggies that we're just gonna cook up a little bit, and we are donezo. How wonderful was that? Vitamins that we're getting from our salmon is really, really gonna help in the winter time, right? When there's not a lot of sun hitting us. That's gonna give us so much energy. So it's good to once a week put that into your diet. It's gonna really, really go a long way as the winter months just kind of drag along. All right. Once that gets nice and warm, we will add our carrots. We have a nice warm pan. Add our carrots in there. And we're just gonna give them a little saute. Oh man. The smells coming off of this is amazing. We're just gonna let that hang out and do its thing for a couple minutes. All right, so let's check out our veggies here. Oh yeah, that's beautiful. We're just gonna let those go for a couple more minutes. And while that's working, I'll show you guys what we're doing with the pesto. Put a nice little dollop here, right? Back of the spoon, spread that out, nice little landing spot. Bring our fish over, place that right on top. Now we have our beautiful, beautiful carrots. And we're going to use some of that oil. So we have our house-made pesto with our Moroccan-inspired carrots and our wonderful cumin, pan-seared salmon. Packed full of nutrients, really, really tasty. Let's give it a shot. A little bit of this pesto, a little bit of this salmon. Beautifully cooked. Look at that. Not dry at all, super moist. Salty, rich, a little spicy. Carrots are nice and rich as well. Still have a little bit of crunch. They were cooked perfectly. This is a beautiful meal to try at home. My name is Chef Jamal, here at Cultured Cooking. Feed the mass. Make sure you like and subscribe us on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram. We'll be here all year long, bringing you wonderful, tasty treats just like this. Thank you so much. It's really good.